I'm Mary Jane from Fiber from the Farm. I'm going to do a little video today about doing pumpkins. They're a really simple project, they're real easy for a beginner, and they're lots of fun. So these are the little pumpkins that we're going to work on today. You can see they have nice little curls, nice lobes on there, and they're a lot of fun. And it's neat to do a whole bunch of different sizes, and that's what we're going to show you how to do. So I have a kit on the website and on my Etsy store that looks like this, and it has written instructions. And then if you've been to any of my shows or on any of my other casts, you've heard me say that I do have these. You're welcome to use whatever you have. So in the kit we have curls, and we have really tight curls so we can do and we can wrap the stems. And we have white core, where we'll build the core first, and then we'll put the color on with the orange. In the kit you also get a couple of 38 needles, and 38 is kind of nice. It's a good all-around needle, and that's all you'll need. There's 2 in there. So let's get started. So we'll put these guys aside a little bit here. We're going to take some of our core, the white core, and we're going to grab probably about 12 inches. Now when you pull any of your core wool apart, depending on the staple length, which means the length of each of the fibers, you want to separate your hands a little bit to make it easier to pull apart. So once we get 12 or 16 or 18, it doesn't matter, it just depends on the size of the pumpkin that you want to make. We're just going to tie it in a knot. So we're going to tie it in a knot like this. And it doesn't have to be really, really tight. I don't felt really hard. Some people do and some people don't. And you'll develop your own method for doing that. So now we're going to take, I'm going to switch to the overhead camera here just so you can see better. So now we have our knot. And I'm going to take, I usually hold my thumb here. And then I'm going to wrap this around here. And I'm going to tack it. Now you can use a 38 needle. If you have 36s, you can use that as well. The smaller the number, the heavier the gauge. That just means it pokes it a little harder. Okay, so if you looked at a needle close up, there's little notches in the needle, and when the needle goes in, it actually grabs the fibers and tangles them. So you don't have to kill it. You don't have to go way in there like that, because the notches are only at the bottom ½ inch of the needle. So you'll see as I'm tacking around here, I always leave my stuff on my felting surface. It just seems if you develop that habit, you don't seem to stab yourself as much. So I'm going to take, there's my tail, so I'm going to take the other end and I'm going to wrap it this way in the opposite direction. And then I'm going to start tacking it down with my needle. And I'm always doing the needle at like a 45-degree angle and towards my felting surface. So now I want to start getting this in a ball shape, because we just want to make a ball. So I'm going to just go around and around, and I don't make a huge one because I don't want the video to take forever. So I'm making a smaller pumpkin. You can see that there's a lot more left in the kit. You can do a couple of pumpkins, you can do one huge one. And if you decide, you can use a multi-punch tool, which has several needles. Sometimes I just pick up 2 at a time and I hold them together, and it just makes it go a little faster. So I'm just starting to make this in a round shape here. And it doesn't have to be fancy because we're going to cover it with some of the orange core. So I have my round shape and I'm happy. I don't make them really hard. Some people do, and that's totally fine. I just like mine somewhere in between. So, all right, so now I'm going to take some of my orange core out of the bag, and I'm just going to lay it here. This is kind of what I do. The core that I have is pretty lofty, so I just lay it there and get an idea how much I need. I'm going to hold this on the top, and I want it to cross over a little bit. So here's about what I need. again, I want to pull it here, but I move my hands back because if you get too close, I can't pull it apart because you've got both ends of the staple or both ends of the lock because these started out as locks. So I open it up just a little bit and I bring this one up. I kind of fold the ends in, and now I'm going to start tacking just on one side. And remember to keep your fingers away from it because they do hurt when you stab yourself. So I'm just tacking this across a little bit, and now I have it tacked, and now I'm going to roll it. And here's just my way of doing it. There's many different ways. This is a small pumpkin, so this is really going to cover most of it. If you're doing a larger one, you're going to do it twice. I'm just going to squish it up a little bit so we have to do both ways. So now I bring it up here, and I'll tell you what I do is I kind of grab this. See how I grabbed it there? Now I start tacking it around, and now I have a little handle because I'm holding some of this core wool on the top, and what I mean is right here. See how I have a little bit hanging out? And I'm just kind of pinching up, and you can see it's starting to come up and around, and now I'm just going to tack it because I'm going to need to cover that. And if your pumpkins you're going to have a bigger white spot. So now I'm just gently tacking it around, trying to get these ends that are sticking up to go in. And at the same time, I'm still keeping, and notice how I have a handle now because I'm holding on that. And this little handle does two things. It kind of keeps you away from where you're stabbing, and it's nice to be able to turn it around. Okay, so now I have that started. Now I have to cover up this side. If you made a larger one to begin with, you'll have more white space. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to lay it on there, and I know I need that much, and there. See how I just kind of measured it that way? So now I'm going to pull it apart. And remember, if it doesn't pull like that, you've got your hands too close together because the staple length may be an inch, it may be 2 inch. It just depends on your core wool. I'm going to fluff it up here, and now I'm going to wrap it in the other direction. See, I'm just going to pull this up. I'm going to grab it with my other stuff, and I'm going to use 2 needles just to make it go faster. And now my thinking is where that overlapped, I'm going to start felting a little harder and start making the lobes. And the lobes are the bumps on the pumpkins. So as long as I'm tacking this down, if you notice, I'm starting here and I'm going all the way up around here, and now I'm starting to make a lobe. Okay, I still have to tack this other end, so I want to gently pull that up there and grab my little handle, so to speak, and I'm going to make another tack here, just gently around. So where I started my lobe is right here. So I want to go all the way across, and you don't have to, but this is a little easier when you're beginning. So I'm going to cut this in half, so to speak. So I'm going to just stay in the same spot and go up, and see how I keep, the more I stab in there, it makes the lobe, the channel here, a little deeper. See how that's deeper now? I'm just going to pull this over, and I'm going to push that down into that little channel. And now I've got one there, and I want to pull this around too because I have a lot here. And now I'm just kind of poking gently just to get everything attached here. Just poking around here. Okay, now here's my lobe on this side. I'm going to do one right straight across from it. Same thing. I'm going to just go really close each time I go. See how I keep stabbing kind of in the same spot and just moving ever so small. Now I'm going to take that lobe and I'm going to cut it in half again. So I start at the bottom or at the top, it doesn't really matter. And I'm going slowly up here, and I'm just stabbing a little harder to make that groove. And you can do it with 1 needle. I'm just doing it with 2 just to make it go faster. So now I spin it around, and here's that half. So I'm going to do that, cut that in half. And these are forming the lobes on the pumpkin. Now, I like to make 8 lobes. So if you look at this, you'll see how it has 8. So right now I have 4. And how I make those into 8 is I just go along here, and then halfway between each of these, I go again. And again, I'm just poking, and I'm just moving very slowly, so I'm kind of poking in the same spot all the time. And now you see how handy that is, having that little bit of wool up there. So here's another one. I'm going to cut that in half, because remember it was in quarters. Now it's going to be 8ths, because I'm going to cut those in half. And if you want to stick with 4, that's fine. I just kind of like the extra lobes. Just my thing. And here's another quarter that's left, and I'm going to cut that in half. And if they're not perfect, don't sweat it. Pumpkin. I raise pumpkins. They're not always perfect. So now you can start to begin to see these nice lobes forming. Oops, one more. So now you have 8 nice lobes on your pumpkin. See, and the lobes are these bumps of the pumpkins. Now, you might want to, I turn it upside down, and I just go in a circular motion and try to flatten it a little bit so it has a nice flat spot to sit on, and then it doesn't roll around on your surface. And there you go. So now you're thinking, what are you going to do with all that? Well, that's going to help us when we attach our stem. So you can do stems a couple of different ways. I kind of like to do these with the wire inside of them so I can bend them and I'm trying to see if I have one here that's not like that. Oh, yeah, right. Or you can do it this way. Oh, I guess this does have one. So it's kind of a personal preference. You can not put the wire in. I like to. I'm going to teach you how to do it. If you don't want to put the wire in, you can just wrap your green, this nice bumpy, fluffy stuff. You can just wrap that right around. Let's grab something here so we can do it. You can take a toothpick or a skewer, and you can take some of this, and this nice fluffy stuff you just pull apart. And I like it because it's a little bumpy and it makes those look nice. So I lay that on the toothpick and I wrap it around the toothpick, and I'm just going to make a toothpick's probably too small. Actually, we're going to switch. Let's do it around a skewer. So I started on the skewer and I'm just rolling it. I'm going down and I pull this out a little bit, and now I'm going to go back up, and now I'm going to go down, and there's a shorter stem. Whenever I wrap around something, I always keep wrapping at the end because you can see it's almost already felted. So now I will felt the end, and there's just without the wire. But I'm going to include, there is 4 wires in your kit, and I'm going to teach you how to do that. So what I do is I take this little wire and I start about in the middle, and it's cloth covered. So this has a tendency to wrap real well and grab onto that cloth covered wire. And I use small bits because they will stick better. And when you get to the end of, and this works for feet too, when you get to the end, I stop a minute and I grab my pliers, which I don't have here. Oh, where did they go? Oh, here, there. I just grab my pliers and see how that little part is sticking out right there, and this has wool on it, I just bend it over like that and squeeze it, because that kind of locks the wool inside that, and then I wrap around and go down. Is that not cool? So that is your little trick to also work for legs and when you get down to the feet and you don't know how to cover up that wire. So I'm going to do it again for you. We don't have to do this for the pumpkin. I just wanted to show you again what I did. So we wrap down to the end. And remember, this is not necessary for the pumpkin. I just want to show it to you again. And I get all the way to the end. And then when I bend this over, see how the wool goes over with it? And then I squeeze it. And then I start wrapping again. And then it's covered on the bottom. See all this cool stuff? So I just keep wrapping this. I kind of go willy-nilly because I just like it to be crazy. So this is very grabby wool, but you can certainly take your needle and just go gently along that wire, because remember, there's a wire in there, and you can tack it. So I'm just going very gently along, trying not to hit the wire. So there is our nice, and you can make them fatter. I'm just doing this for the interest of time. So now, either with a pair of scissors, I pull this apart. You can use scissors, or you can use, I usually have snips here, but oops, this just happens to be here on my table. So I'm going to cut down in here in the middle and just snip it a little. And then I'm going to take my wire and I'm going to stick it down in that hole, and then I'm going to take this extra stuff and I'm going to start poking this in. Actually, I want to wrap it around here a little bit. So now I just start poking it in. There's my lobe, so I'm going to continue up. And what I want to try to do is very carefully, if you notice, I'm going like this because I'm trying to catch some of that wool that's on the wire, because I'm actually attaching this now. And so all that extra things we used as a handle is now going to help secure. I'm trying to tip this over so you can see. So this is going to help secure the wire stem. Now, I know pumpkins don't have big long stems like this, but I'm taking some artistic license because I just like it like that. So see, I'm using this wool, extra wool, and I'm trying to go alongside my stem and try to catch that wool with along with the orange wool, and put my lobes back in. And there we go. So I'm going to put my lobes back in there. There. Oops. So now we have a stem. Now you've got these funky curls in your, oops, little sawdust, you don't need that. You've got these little funky curls to put on. So here's another little trick I'm going to show you, is that when you have these curls and you want to pull them apart, look for the curly end, not the cut end, and you want to pull it from that direction. And that minimizes some of the fluff you get. Like even this is Cotswold. I separated those and I gently pulled them apart, and I've got extra curls. So this on the end, sometimes I just curl around my finger because it's Cotswold, so it's slippery. So then I fold that in half and I start stabbing it in my pumpkin. And I fold, so then I grab this one. I like to get my mileage. You could snip this so there's no little foo-foo. I don't mind the little foo-foo. I just bent it in half, and then I start tacking this in. So in each kit I give you a little green also, and this funky or yellowish stuff. So you could pull another lock from your box of tricks, and this is kind of fat, so I'm going to separate it and then pull it, so I get two. Little trick there for you. And I'm going to lay it on there, and I'm going to stab it in. Now, of course, the cut end is a little fuzzier than the other, so if you don't want to do that and you don't want it that long, just give it a snip and then put it on there like that if you want just that nice clean curl. So you have plenty of locks in here to choose from. Remember, I'm taking it from the curly end and I'm gently oh, that's a long one. And I'm actually going to separate this a little bit so I can make two out of this one and gently pull it apart. I'm going to put it in half because otherwise it'd be hanging off my pumpkin. And plus I get some mileage because I get 2 for 1. So now I get 2 there. So that's how we make our pumpkin. And that's how we add some little curls. I think I need some green over there to set that one off. So I'll pull some more of my green stuff out of here. And here is the curly end. I think I'm going to leave that one. And I'm just going to put that in there. And I'm going to tack it down. And there's your pumpkin. So let me switch here so you can see. This is the one we just made. And let me show you, where are we here? There we go. Here's the one we just made. Oh, I guess I'm a little close. Let's back up a little bit. And you can see how cute those are. You can make little ones, you can make bigger ones. In the kit, you get enough to easily make 2 pumpkins. And if you, and I know a little overkill on the orange, as you can see. So there's plenty to do, probably easily 3. Because if you have this left over, then just do the same thing. Tie a knot with that, start again, and use whatever you have left to cover. So there we go. There's our little fun pumpkin project, and it's really nice for, and you don't have to limit it to orange. If you have white left over and you have some blue in your stash, those look cute too. You can do white and blue. So, oh, let's do that. So here I took some of my green. Where's that little devil? Oh, here it is. So here I took some of my green fuzzy stuff and I pulled it and I just laid it in the groove of the lobes and just tack it right down in there. And of course I like to get more mileage out of my things, so I'm going to split this again because I just want a little accent. It makes it look like a nice little shadow in there. And here I split. This is the same lock that I just pulled. And now I'm going to go down in this one. And I'll probably snip that one off. Oh, if I snip it off up here, oh yeah, we got lots. So there we go. Right down in there, a little accent. And here's this little piece we'll just put right here. So you can go all the way around and put those right in the lobes. And see how that gives that nice shadow effect. So these are a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoy it. If you don't have the kit and you need some, you can go on fiberfromthefarm.etsy.com. I have an Etsy store, and eventually I'll have my Fiber from the Farm website, but I'm rather felt and do websites. So, so thank you so much for joining me. And, come play and have a lot of fun. These are so cute and they're really easy. Thanks so much. You have a great day.